So let's talk about apostrophes. Now, apostrophes are one of the simplest punctuation marks, but I think one of the trickiest to use. So let's talk about the three basic rules here. You use apostrophes first and probably most often to form possessive nouns. So if I've got the noun Sarah, I'm going to add an apostrophe S to make that possessive. We also use apostrophes a lot to show the omission of letters, and that's kind of a fancy way of saying make a contraction. So when we've got could've, we have that apostrophe in place of the letters HA, so instead of could have. And then this one isn't used very often, but you never know. You use apostrophes to form the plural of lowercase letters. So if somebody's telling you to mind your P's and Q's, it's P apostrophe S, Q apostrophe S. All right, now here's where we get kind of a little muddied up. And this is kind of an easy way to remember it. There's two basic rules for how to make things plural and how to deal with your apostrophes. The first is to add an apostrophe S. And you do that when the following is true. So you add an apostrophe S to a singular word that doesn't end in S, like student. You add apostrophe S to make it possessive. Or when you have a plural word that doesn't end in S, like the word geese that describes a flock of geese. If we were saying the geese's flight path, we just add that apostrophe S there. Now the last two are kind of sticky ones, but these are good ones to remember. When you have a compound word, one of those hyphenated ones like brother-in-law, you're going to add the apostrophe S to the end. So it's brother-in-laws. And then when you have joint possession, so Susan and Bruce's dog, you're going to add the apostrophe S just to the last noun of that joint possession. So that's another thing to remember. The other option that you have is adding just an apostrophe. And you're only going to do that when the singular or plural nouns end in S. So something like the Joneses, which is a plural noun that describes all the members of the Jones family. If we're talking about the house that they own, we're going to say the Joneses apostrophe house. Or if we're talking about a lot of lasses, maybe we're talking about Scotland or something, instead of adding S apostrophe S, so we've got three S's in a row, we just need to throw this apostrophe here on the end to show that they possess something. So those are the two basic rules. All right, let's take a look at some tricks that'll help you remember them. The first one I have is don't get apostrophe crazy. So we use them mostly to show possession, and we use them in contractions. These, I think, are the three times when it's most often easy to get these mixed up. So things to remember is it's, their, and your. Those contractions, when you have an apostrophe in them, are always contractions. They never show possession. I know that's kind of counterintuitive because we think apostrophe equals possession. In these cases, it doesn't. It's only a contraction. So it's means it is. They're with an apostrophe, they are. You're with an apostrophe, you are. If you want to show possession, you just leave out that apostrophe. So it's, or in the case of there, you change the form to T-H-E-I-R, or your, Y-O-U-R. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And then also, don't use apostrophes to make things plural. So we never use an apostrophe if it's not possessing something or omitting something. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, I think you can find that in the children's section. So we've got a section, and this is our thing, and the section is belonging to the children. So when we've got this apostrophe here, we've got a plural word, but children doesn't end in S, so we're going to throw the apostrophe between. So it would be essentially like adding the apostrophe in the S. All right? We want to honor both of our family's traditions, and I think this is kind of a difficult one. So obviously, the traditions are the things being possessed, all right? They belong to our families. Since families is a plural and it ends in an S, all we have to do to show that possession is add that apostrophe to the end. All right? And finally, mind your P's and Q's when you're in the house built in the 1880s. We've got to fix a couple things here. So we've got P's and Q's because we said that one not often used rule is that you separate the lowercase letter from the S to make it plural with an apostrophe. All right? And then we've got your, and there's something wrong with this your here. All right, this your shows possession, but we're trying to say you are. So we've got to throw an apostrophe in here and change the form. All right, and then finally, some of you may be wanting to throw an apostrophe here after 1880s, but remember the rule was only with lowercase letters. So this is something I see a lot. You never want to throw an apostrophe in when you're making a time period plural. You just add that S there. So there's a couple different things that you can look at with how to use an apostrophe, and hopefully it made it a little bit more simple.